Hello and welcome to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Well, the assembly election results have poured in, and what a result that is for the BJP winning 4 of the 5 states, holding on to UP with such credibility that it's, I think by now, Amit Shah had said 224, 22 will be decide to 224. And it seems clear. I mean, I think the battle from the opposition side seems to be, almost a walkover for the BJP. I don't think anybody on the panel today or outside the panel will also has any doubt that the BJP is going to make a comeback in 224. But let's discuss the UP win and what did the BJP do differently, or was it the voters didn't have any options? I did think they had an option in Akhilesh Yadav, but they still chose the BJP. Why did they do that? To discuss that, I have with me on the panel Nalin Mehta. He is the author of The New BJP, a book that is really come in very handy during election time because it talks about the way the BJP has built itself up, the reinvention of the BJP, and there's a lot of focus on the Modi-Amit Shah way of winning elections. And Liz Matthews, Deputy Political Editor of the Indian Express, someone who's been covering the BJP very closely, especially the Modi era, and someone whose byline I'm sure we're all very familiar with. And we will also be joined by Yashwant Deshmukh. He's the founder, editor, and psephologist at Sea Water. Welcome, Yashwantji. And I think congratulations for your poll. I think you got the trend right in UP. Just, I think, a couple of seats here and there, but you got it right. The BJP coming first, getting over 250. Akhilesh Yadav also you got right. I think you got most of the numbers right, more or less. But before I get you on the show, I want to first get Nalin on it. Nalin, the new BJP, how does the BJP win elections? A lot of what you said in the book was implemented on the ground. So you must be feeling good. And a bit about, you can tell us what the new mantra is.
So I think, thanks very much, Priya, for your comments. First, I think we have to see the context of this result. It's not just victories for the BJP. Look at the scale of the victories. In UP, for the first time since independence, a sitting chief minister has won a back-to-back election. In the days of Congress dominance, Congress would win back-to-back elections, but it always was a different chief minister. Even Govind Ballam Pant didn't do a back-to-back term. So that's number one. Second, for the first time since 1985, a sitting party has returned to power in UP. And third, the vote share that the BJP has got instead of declining, it has actually increased. And this vote share is the highest since 1957, which was the last time. There was another time in 1977 when which was an unusual election where there was a more than 40% vote share. So the magnitude of this victory, and the very important thing is, it comes on the back of 2 years of economic crisis, of the farmers' agitation, of the deprivations of the coronavirus, of the issues around jobs, issues around CAA, which just preceded the coronavirus thing. The GDP has just about come back to the size that it was 2 years ago. So in this context, to get a victory right now would have been stunning anyway. But in this context, to get a victory of this magnitude is something else. And it tells us that the old rules of Indian politics have shifted. Something fundamentally is changing. Right now, what is changing now in the new BJP? My book, I had argued that there were three things that are driving the BJP's growth in the Hindi heartland in general and in UP in particular. Those were a new social coalition, which was upper caste remained with the BJP, but very large numbers of non-Yadav OBCs and to a lesser extent non-Yadav Dalits. That was one. That BJP became the most representative party by caste in UP, barring Muslims. That was one. Second was the very large constituency of Labhartis, the welfare model the BJP has built through direct benefit transfers and the political mobilization around them, the very large mobilization of that. That was second. Third was Hindutva. Hindutva, of course, to use this phrase, gives the BJP gati, as one of the officials told me, but the real thing is welfare. But these three things, along with the leadership, the leadership quotient and the branding that Narendra Modi brings, so those were the three things. What this election has shown is that instead of going back or overturning or reducing all of these factors which drove the BJP's great triumphs in UP in 2014, in 2017 and 2019, these trends have become deeper and have taken much deeper roots than before instead of reversing. including on caste. So that's the most important outcome of this election. The other outcome of this election, I'll just stop there, is that there's no question that this has been fronted by Narendra Modi. It was his brand, it was his equity. In Uttarakhand in particular, in a state where you've lost a change of chief minister 3 times, where you have a pattern of always alternating between two parties, you still win, and you win convincingly. There is no other explanation for that. It shows that the BJP has taken deep roots. But I think what is new in this election is the making of a Yogi constituency. Yogi Adityanath became chief minister in 2017 after the election. In the last 5 years, when I was traveling across UP in this election, and I heard his name constantly, it was clear to me that there is a very strong Yogi constituency in UP, and and I think the credit for this victory should go to him a great deal as well, along with the Prime Minister.
Absolutely. In fact, I've been, talking to young college students, giving lectures, and there's been as much interest on about Yogi as one heard about Modi in the early years. Even now, of course, there's interest in Modi, but the Yogi interest is something I found a deja vu as to what, earlier on it used to be about Modi. So Yashwantji, your first takeaways from this election, and I think you must be feeling good about getting it right.
No, it's not about feeling good or bad or anything, as an observer of election, and it's been almost a year. Nalin knows that we do a daily tracker. We do what we do 365 days a year. Actually, it's up to the media when they wish to publish, and it's been only in the last few years that the media has started actually putting out the trackers. The data was always there. It is just that the media was not very keen earlier. But it's been a year that we have been saying only one line all out, that BJP is not getting below 40%. And Samajwadi Party is hitting a glass ceiling of 35%. And they are not getting beyond that. And, when we started the tracker showing that Samajwadi Party is getting from 20-22% and their journey in bipolarization of the state, they are getting up to 33, 34, Till that point of time, a large section of media, Priya, was very happy, And when I started saying that, okay, now at 34%, it's getting plateaued, the same section of media started, I'll not take names, but, फोन आते थे और हमको कहते थे, प्रिया की यशवंत वो आप अपना डेटा ठीक से रीड नहीं कर पा. And I was like, okay, मैं ही अपना डेटा ठीक से नहीं रीड कर पा रहा हूँ.
Yashwant, they accused you of being right-wing.
Yeah, that is the old thing. Because I am born into a Deshmukh family, so that persecution is different. I am not even going in that. But funny thing is that जैसे बच्चे अपने कंपास बॉक्स से एक स्केल निकालते हैं ना और लीनियरिटी की बात करते हैं. You see, यशवंत, you said 22 से 32 पहुंचा ना, अब ये देखिएगा 32 से 42 पहुंच गया. And I'm saying, bro, it's not happening. It got stuck somewhere there. No, you are unable to read your data properly. I said, okay, let's watch what happens on 10th of March. And that is where, that's where it is. Fundamentally, I totally agree with Nalin. There are so many things which this BJP has fundamentally changed, and at the same time, I cannot help but admire many of the things which I genuinely believe that the RSS minds were at work way before even Modi happened. Modi was a perfect driver of a car which probably the RSS was making for 70 odd years. Let me put it this way. जैसे होता है ना कि बहुत अच्छी गाड़ी होती है F1 के ट्रैक पर, but at the end of the day, it is up to the driver who is driving that car as well. It's one of those kind of F1 championship where Yogi or Modi, they are getting the right set of the driver with a fundamental car, And my dad was he was editor of Panjanya, and besides being an RSS pracharak, he was a very, very fair-headed and balanced guy in reading the politics, in that way. So in 2007, he was all smiles when Mayawati won the majority. I asked him, BJP is decimated. The party of your choice is decimated in the election. It's not even number one, not number two. Why are you smiling? And he said to me, कि देखो, दलित का ब्राह्मण का पैर छू लेना ये कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है. ब्राह्मण का दलित के पैर छू लेना ये गेम चेंजर है. और ये दीवार टूटी है तो जो इधर से जा रहा है कल के दिन वापस भी आए. And that man was smiling in 2014 when Dalits voted lock, stock and barrel, non-Jatav Dalits voted for the BJP. But in 2014, he was, when I came laid back from the studio, I thinking that he must be very happy. You know, puri zindagi ye log laga lete hain and like that, and party got into power and he was tense. It was 1 o'clock in the night when I came back from the studio. और जगे हुए थे. मैंने पूछा कि आज तो खुश होना चाहिए, आप इतने दुखी क्यों हैं? And one liner, Nadil, that he said to me was, and still I am agreeing to it. He said, वो जीत तो ठीक है, लेकिन कांग्रेस का इतना गिर जाना देश के लिए अच्छा नहीं. I mean, can you imagine a lifelong RSS प्रचारक जिस दिन उनके सपने की पार्टी क्लियर मेजॉरिटी आ रही है, उस दिन वो इस बात पे परेशान हो रहे थे कि ये जीत ठीक है, लेकिन कांग्रेस का इतना गिर जाना देश के लिए अच्छा.
That's true. Let me get Liz also into it, because this is, I'll just bring her also and come back to you. But it's a fact, the state of, the Congress is totally decimated, which is what has happened now also. Liz, your first take on what happened of the BJP result.
BJP's, since when the elections were announced, if you watch the BJP's videos and audios and advertisements, I'm saying since the code of conduct has come into place, every BJP advertisement or promotional material was talking about only the welfare measures, the free ration, and the Awas Yojana and other pension scheme, the Kisan, the doors for the farmers, all these were in talk. So with which, what BJP has done, they have created a new vote bank, which is a labhardi, as they always say, and also the way BJP is not the first party to introduce welfare schemes and distribute free ration or something, but the BJP's organization skill and the network on the ground, how they have mobilized that beneficiaries and try to make them a support base, a solid support base which would stand by the party in election after election. That is one major success they have done. The second is the women. As we have seen, the data shows that the women voters have the percentage has gone up, over the phases. Like from it has many reasons. They say that the men have gone out to work, and that is one reason. But whatever, it showed that if you look at the result, you showed that the women participation, the more women participation actually helped the BJP. So which indicates that the BJP has been able to successfully make another vote bank, which is, other than Labhardi, this is women. This is obviously secular vote banks, like in character, you can't call them a religious or a communal or something. You can't. This is, I think this is the major success BJP has made in this election. But you should see like the kind of hard work the BJP workers and the BJP as an organization puts it, lays down on the ground. All of us have seen, in many villages in Uttar Pradesh, only the presence of BJP was very visible. And of course, I am not denying the fact that there has been resentment. There was very palpable resentment against Yogi and against his functioning. It was caste-wise, it was religion-wise. And also, it's not just, maybe one caste says that the other caste got more benefits. That is one thing. More than that, the law and order situation, which had a communal undertone of like, Musalmanon ko theek kar diya. Even then, despite that, the way, the BJP has succeeded in creating a credible force, where the resentment did not yield, as votes to SP, mainly because the Samajwadi Party or Akhilesh could not come up as a very credible opposition. People were upset, but they didn't see him as a alternative to Yogi.
Okay, I'm going to take a break and come back and take a look forward as to what impact this would have in 2024, or can we just hand over the election to the BJP after a short break? Hello and welcome back to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. We're here discussing the UP win and now, Nalin, the impact on 24. I think the opposition is kind of privately almost given up the fight. Would you agree to that?
So I think these 2024 is still a long way away. A lot can change, but at this moment, the BJP is well and truly ahead, and there are 2-3 reasons for that. The first, I think, is the continuing decimation of the Congress and its inability to shift in the absence. And I think a big factor
car
now,
without a good driver, what Yashwantji
exactly
said.
what Yashwant was saying, and the emergence of Arvind Kejriwal means that now you have a party which is going to eat up the Congress in states. So Arvind Kejriwal first ate up the Congress in Delhi. Now he's eaten them up in Punjab. And now for the strong anti-BJP vote that exists in this country, who is not happy with the Congress, there is now an alternative state by state. We'll see what happens in Gujarat and other states. That's one. But what this means is that if the BJP has to have a serious challenge, there has to be a strong index of opposition unity. You have to have united opposition candidates. With Kejriwal's resurgence, and so on, right now, there's very little chance of that happening, right? That's number one. Number two, I think it shows that Narendra Modi remains by far the tallest leader in this country nationally. And the BJP is now building a second rung. Yogi Adityanath, his rise also has implications for the future of the BJP and for a post-Modi politics whenever that happens. So I think the challenge. See, look at Yashwant wrote a very prescient piece a couple of days back, which showed that there are something like 300 seats in this country where the Congress will be across with the Congress, when these include states like Telangana, Andhra, Tamil Nadu, and several other states, where the Congress will barely get 20 seats. There is no way in hell they can get more than 20 seats. So then it has some seats left where it can grow. So there is a real problem. So the challenge will come from regional parties and others, but unless they coalesce together, the BJP is a juggernaut.
Good point, Yashwantji. The state of the opposition, what you wrote, and is Kejriwal going to be now the new Congress? Mamta seems to be, a little bit out of the race after what happened in Goa.
Well, that was really odd to see Mamta going all the way to Goa to start with, and I still feel that whether she was fighting BJP or she was fighting ensuring Congress defeat in Goa, which is the fact, because whatever she got votes in Goa simply came from the Congress kitty. So, I simply feel pity for the entire class in the media, which was tom-tomming Mamata Banerjee as the champion of secular politics in India. Let them, I want them to sink in with this fact that, that Mamata Banerjee is, for all practical reasons, playing BJP's game. As simple as that, number one. Number two, so will be the case with Arvind Kejriwal, because you cannot stop any political party, a party or a person from dreaming to become the prime minister one day. Given a chance, even Nalin and I would like to become a prime minister one day. Nobody says no to that if given a chance.
Sir, I'm very happy being an academic.
No, sir. I want to play Amit Shah with you when you become the prime minister.
And Nirmala and Liz and I can be finance minister.
Jokes apart, the thing is that the fact is Arvind Kejriwal has all the bragging rights, and Arvind Kejriwal's traction is going to be much bigger, multiple times more than Mamata Banerjee. If you look into the 26th January India Today issue, which we did for their Mood of the Nation poll, the C Voter poll clearly indicated that Mamata Banerjee's national ratings were almost 90% coming from West Bengal alone. Yes. While Arvind Kejriwal's national ratings were much more evenly spread out across many other states,
Yashwant, may I add to that point?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I wanted to add to this because, I have always felt the limitation for Mamata Banerjee, everyone got rara excited after a West Bengal triumph, but she's always been seen as a Bengali leader. Arvind Kejriwal, on the other hand, has a much larger pan-Indian personality.
Yes.
You see, the issue with what has been the issue with most regional parties so far, their inability to expand outside their region because their appeal is linked to a certain regional ethnic identity. And most regional parties have been unable to expand beyond that. And Kejriwal is one rare regional leader who doesn't have that baggage and who has the ability and the capability to expand beyond that. Whether he does it or not is a different question.
Absolutely. And I will take it one step further, in that way. And as in as crude way of saying it. Mamata Banerjee is way too branded as a leader who is supportive of Muslim politics. Can I say it in as many words? Outside West Bengal, her branding as a person who is winning because of Muslim support, she is literally a replica of Akhilesh Yadav in that kind of branding. And that is going to be the biggest challenge for her. Regardless of all the Chandi Paths and Hanuman Chalisas she might do on the stage, but Arvind Kejriwal doesn't carry that baggage. Arvind Kejriwal is the character who says Jai Shri Ram and still gets the Muslim votes. You know, Arvind Kejriwal, who runs the trains to Ayodhya, still manages to win Punjab on anti-Modi plank as well as the pro-Sikh plank. So Arvind Kejriwal's politics and branding does not carry that kind of baggage which Mamata Banerjee unfortunately suffers from. So that
very good point.
And today's politics in India, I mean, you can absolutely win an election being pro-Muslim, but you cannot win an election being seen as anti-Hindu. Let me put it that way. Because we know BJP has lost half the elections in India in the last 7 years. Priya. Half the elections BJP has lost. And big number of non-BJP chief ministers, which, you know, in our chief ministers ranking, by the way, in the Mood of the Nation poll, in the top 10 chief ministers, there was only one BJP chief minister, that was Himanta Biswa Sarma. All right. So that means India has a big number of performing and being loved non-BJP chief ministers, and all those chief ministers, majority of them, barring Mamata Banerjee, has a very classical trait of getting Muslims and other minority votes without being looked upon as being anti-Hindu. Mamata Banerjee, and in India, as I say, everybody barring Rahul Gandhi is getting this formula right, that you can win an election in India being pro-Muslim, no problem in that, but you cannot win an election in India when you are being looked down upon as anti-Hindu. That's the bottom line. And if you look into the Uttar Pradesh politics, Priya, right now, the complete meltdown of BSP is primarily triggered by the lock, stock and barrel exodus of Muslim votes from BSP camp to Samajwadi camp. This morning itself, one of the journalists wrote that BSP helped the BJP by shifting votes to BJP. No, that did not happen. I'm sorry. There was no swing from BSP to BJP in these elections. That swing of non-Jatav Dalit votes, it happened in 2014 itself. And the non-Jatav Dalits have stayed there. They never came back to the BSP. The meltdown, current meltdown of the BSP is because the Muslim left BSP and went to Samajwadi Party. Now, one line where I will leave, I have to go, I'm sorry, I have to go somewhere, but one line which I want to very strongly put in. I have been in this business for 28 years, and so has been Nalin and you as well, a long time. We know for a sure, for a really long time, Muslims voting for defeating the BJP was always celebrated as a tactical voting, not as a communal vote. While the BJP getting Hindu votes was always treated as a communal vote. I have a basic disagreement with that kind of philosophy. If Hindus voting for the BJP on communal plank is communal, so is the Muslim trend of voting for Samajwadi Party or any Mamata Banerjee or any other party just to defeat the BJP, that is equally communal. And if Muslim voting for that is tactical, which by the way, I believe it is, because I celebrate that as a perfect example of democracy. One should be free to tactically vote, and whichever, if they do not find BJP as their core choice, they are free to vote tactically. But then Hindus voting for the BJP is not communal. And by the way, the bottom line that I read in these elections, gone are the days when there was a binary that BJP is winning election because of Hindu-Muslim polarization. I'm sorry, no, wake up, smell the coffee. BJP did not win because of the Hindu-Muslim polarization. It won because of the last mile approach of social welfare schemes of delivering the governance. That is what made the BJP win. Women in Uttar Pradesh and other states voted for the BJP because they got ration, they got the chhat, they got the shauchalay, they got the money. And by the way, the too much focus on bulldozer Baba, that mafia Raj and law and order was a very critical thing. I am saying that. But that bulldozer image also had a communal undertone. But females of Uttar Pradesh did not vote for law and order on bulldozer image. They voted for BJP because law and order situation came through them via the toilets. We know the rural Muslim females, the maximum number of sexual crime against the rural females happen when they go in lack of toilet, go into the field, early mornings in hours of the morning or late in the evening after the dark. That is where the maximum crimes happen. So the law and order or the safety issue to the females was delivered via the toilet, construction of the toilet. So all this Western idea, or which is so much loved by many of the Indian celebrity authors and editors alike, that BJP is actually an urban, middle class, Hindu, politics, male chauvinist party. Dump it. BJP today is a party of scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, poor women cutting across all those spectrum, winning on the economic model and last mile delivery of the social welfare scheme. So the pyramid is inverted. The base, which used to be called as the Hindutva base and everything on the top of it winning edge, that is now changed. The base is now this economic, whatever I told you, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, poor, rural, women.
I'm going to cut you short.
On the cherry on the top. So that is what has changed under the new BJP. And I think this is precisely what Nalin has been so painstakingly hammering down in his book. And his book is going to counter a lot of those things which the West has been propagating primarily. I'm saying West because I don't consider the left liberal Indian cabal as having that kind of intellect to even propagate that thing.
Thank you, Yashwant. Can I add one thing?
Quickly, but I want to get Liz in. Huh?
Yeah, sorry. I'll just say two sentences. Thank you, Yashwant. I totally agree. And one of the most amusing things for me in this election has been watching, you said Western discourse, which has said this discourse has been outdated at least since 2014, but the academic discourse is not caught up. One of the most amusing things for me has been seeing a whole bunch of Delhi commentariat arguing exact opposite until the day before the exit poll. And after the exit poll, everyone backtracking and trying to justify exactly this, what they've been arguing exactly opposite against. OBC chale jayega, ye ho jayega, wo jayega. So I know same people. Suddenly, and you and I have been talking and some of others, and we have been maintaining the same line because we are seeing these people have not been on the ground. They are not seeing anything on the ground. This is basically an outdated perception and bias. You can have any ideological.
I got it. Now let's get Liz in. Hang on. No. I have to get Liz in. She's not spoken at all.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thanks. Liz, your last take and also the Congress, we've been discussing the BJP and the opposition, but now what's happening in the Congress, in UP especially?
Let me just, disagree with, I agree with both Nalin and Yashwant when they say that, Kejriwal has a very different, image and a stature when it comes to the national politics. But one thing is there, even Mamata had 41 seats. She could claim 41 seats. And the other leaders have even if Stalin had 39. But as of today, what Kejriwal has is if you want to get a national stature, has only 20 seats stake, right? 7 plus 13 in this thing. So if you want to be a national alternative, at least 150 to 200 seats, you have to be at the first position or the second position, which Kejriwal is not. Aam Aadmi Party is not as of today, and they really have to go miles before that. Then, but there comes the Congress picture. It is true that the Congress is really on a downhill, and it has since 2014. Yesterday I was checking 2014. Congress lost 40 election. Under Narendra Modi's leadership in this country, Congress got 14, and they got only, I think they won only since 2000. Pondicherry, Punjab, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, and Madhya Pradesh, of which Madhya Pradesh has already gone. Today, Congress is in power only in 2 states. This is the state. Even it is worse than 98 when Sonia Gandhi took over as the party president. Then they had 3 states, Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, and Mizoram, I think. So the Congress situation is disintegrating, and the party is disintegrating.
So you need commitment, leadership, and intent, and that driver's license, I think. But thank you for this conversation. And we're going to have a lot more because we still haven't done all the takeaways. A lot of interesting points have also come up in this conversation, the way India votes, the way leaders behave, but for another time. Thank you so much for watching this show, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Priya.
Thanks.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.